Would you believe me if I said patterns do not matter when it comes to trading? Your basic patterns everyone teaches and learns do not show up in the market as often as you would think. This is the exact same reason you do not need indicators when you are trading. Because indicators are based on price, they end up lagging behind. But if you can actually read the market, you will be way ahead of what the indicator is going to tell you. For an easy example, let's take a look at a head and shoulders. This is a pattern a lot of people learn, and all this is telling you is that a potential reversal in the market is coming up. Now, if you wait for this to show up exactly like the pattern is taught, you're going to be waiting a long time potentially. Patterns do not repeat themselves consistently every time because the market never shows up the same way, and so you cannot expect these patterns to show up crisp and clean every time, and in reality, ever. In the end, all this head and shoulders pattern is showing you is the basic switch in a downtrend from making lower lows and lower highs to an uptrend or potential uptrend of making higher highs and higher lows. For candlestick patterns, this is the exact same. If you can read into what the candlesticks are saying, then you do not need to be blindly trying to copy and learn what they are to try and predict what the market is doing. You will be able to just read the market as it happens. With this candlestick pattern right here, all it's telling you is the market went down in a nice, concise downtrend, and then all of a sudden ripped back higher with massive momentum. And if you can understand that, you can read that in different candlestick patterns. Because when you actually look at a stock chart, none of these candlesticks look the same and really will fit nicely to a candlestick cheat sheet. And so what you need to do as a trader is understand what the movements in the market mean. Even though I have a strategy I've been consistently trading with for a while now, I am still nervous every time I get into a trade because you do not know what the market's gonna do. It always will throw a surprise at you, but that's just a part of trading. And for me, when I realized that I don't have to know what the market's doing all the time to still consistently make money, I think it made it a lot easier to actually trade consistently. Now, the harsh reality is that it's gonna just take time of you watching the market to really understand what the movements in the market mean. But what I can do is I can walk you through a couple things that I have learned over the years trading. Now, a simple but very important concept is the market likes to repeat what it's doing most of the time. For example, let's say the market has been going up and down, and every time it tries to go up, it'll reverse that. Or every time it goes down, it will reverse that. And so going forwards, seeing that the market is on a pretty strong trend higher here, well, just based on looking at what the market's done previously, what can we expect that the market's gonna do? We can expect that the market is going to start to reverse and give that move back up. Now, we don't know how long it's gonna take to do that, but a lot of the time is it will give those moves back up. And as we can see here, that's exactly what it did. Now, this is very simple, but very important when you're trying to estimate what the market is going to do over the long run. And so that is, if the market's being back and forth and choppy, well, I'm just gonna assume it's gonna continue to be back and forth and choppy. And so if I'm watching the market looking for it to make a large move higher here, that is really unlikely and a bad bet to take. And so because of that, it's generally good to just sit things out and wait till the market ends up making some drastic change with some massive kind of news coming out that ends up shaking up the market and moving it into a different pattern. Now, another thing I've noticed is the market, and now this is probably because some news, but if it makes some massive crazy move like this, it will often give that back up because the market moved down here so quickly, it didn't have time to have a healthy trend. This is not a healthy move down with nice consistent pullbacks and retests and clean movement to establish good levels in the market. And so because of that, when you have these kind of moves, the market will most likely start to give those back up and recover what was initially sold off in a massive way. Now, that was an extreme example, but you can see here, the market is in a consistent, slow, choppy move higher, and then all of a sudden, it just makes two very fast pushes up. And now that is a change in the market, not giving it a good time to adjust. And because the market was kind of in a sluggish mode, well, think of it like what we thought before, is if the market is kind of back and forth and doesn't have that much strength, well, it's probably going to continue to not have that much strength. And so as we make a really strong attempt to start some big move higher or some uptrend, well, really looking before is the market didn't have that much strength, and so it's unlikely to hold that. And so going forwards from when this market peaked out here, it slowly started to give that back up, and then all of a sudden flushed back lower, and it pretty much sold off exactly to where it took off initially. Another big thing is the market loves to reverse. Yes, it has times where it's going up and going down in a more consistent trend, but the majority of the time it has moves where it is just going up and then reversing and giving that back up. And so this is why the concept of the trend is your friend is really hard, because a lot of the time the market is going to be just whipsawing back and forth, making large down and up moves, and in reality not trending in a nice trend that you can buy pullbacks in very often. Now let me show you how I analyze and take a trade based on what the things we just talked about, and show you how I do that in real time. Now, one of those things we just talked about was climactic or out of nowhere massive moves that are not a healthy trend. Now right here with these few massive green bars, the market just skyrocketed higher. It wasn't a nice, consistent, clear trend. And you can see the market was kind of just choppy and not much movement. Well, I would expect that the market's probably going to give that back up because there was nothing that was consistently strong about that move. And based on that, we can take a good assumption that it will come back to the area that it took off from. Now, with these trades, I have kind of a simple checklist that I like to go through before I get into each trade. Now, the first thing is having a good resistance or support level, and I actually draw those off of a larger time frame. Now, this is a 1 minute chart that we're looking at, but this support level is drawn from a 15-minute chart. And the idea is once the market gets to this level, then I look for a catalyst or some reason to bet that the market is going to go lower. And that is, for me, in this instance, is, well, the market had a massive unhealthy push higher into this level, and then it started to show some lack of strength, and then I got in on a trade and bet the market was going to go lower. Now, I do go a lot more in depth into this strategy in another video. You can check that out. And so with this trade right here, as it starts to move lower, I like to read the price action in real time and manage my stop loss. My stop loss was initially up here. If the market breaks higher, I'll get out at a loss. And as we move down and get close to this support level here and close to where this initial market took off, I'm gonna manage the trade and trail up my stop loss. And so based on all that, this is gonna be a really good spot to get out of the market. Now, if you wanna join a community that will accelerate your trading path, I have a community that a lot of people have found really helpful when it comes to trading. You can check that out in a link in the description below. But if you wanna just learn more about my strategy on my YouTube channel, check out this video right here, because I will dive way more into this strategy than we have right here.